And then, Brad, that takes us to the last team here. We have the Steelers, 9.5 wins.
I'm going to put them over, dude. I am.
Yeah, me too.
I like Big Ben. I think he's just the type of guy that he's got so much experience that if he doesn't have a lot of knuckleheads pulling him down like he has had, that he's good enough to get them to 10 wins, barring injury or any unforeseen act of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot because Bell was gone, but remember, Bell wasn't there last year, and James Conner did well. He's a young guy on a cheaper contract.
Conner did okay.
I'm looking at his stats right now. 215 attempts, 973 yards, 12 touchdowns, 55 receptions, 497 yards.
He came out, I think it was the first few games, and he just busted out. But then defenses figured out what he liked to do, which always happens. And then I think he kind of came back down to earth. Then he got a little case of the dropsies and the fumble skis. You remember that?
Yeah.
He coughed it up a couple times. He's fine, and you could do just fine with a running back that is just fine. That's the only point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything you said. My thought is that they went away from him a little bit, and I think that they came back to him a little bit later. I feel like in weeks 4 through 8. Yeah, I think, he's all right. Let's just leave it at that. Wide receiver, Antonio Brown, he's gone, obviously. Him and his, what you call it, orange mustache, yellow mustache, he's gone. Juju Smith-Schuster, I think he'll be just fine. But my problem is, who else is going to catch passes on this offense? James Washington, Dante Moncrief, Vance McDonald?
Well, you know what? It's funny is we've come across the past few weeks, Sean, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but a few teams that really just have no wide receivers.
Yeah.
You know, just I kind of remember hearing of that guy.
Yeah.
Pretty wild. I don't remember it ever being that way in the past.
Yeah, we were talking, I remember because the first week we were talking about Buffalo and, Zay Jones, Cole Beasley we kind of like. We talked about his rap album for a little bit. But them, Miami, we weren't really enamored with. Even New England, outside of Edelman, we weren't really enamored with. I thought the Jets I think the Jets have the best wide receiver core in that whole division, which is interesting. Then I look at Washington; they have nothing. The Giants now have nothing.
Just nothing.
I mean, Golden Tate. Come on, the artist formerly known as Golden Tate. He's not himself anymore. And he never really even separated in his prime. He was just really good at making tough catches,
The artist formerly known as Golden Tate.
What is it, delayed reaction?
Where did you get that one from?
I don't know. He's just a symbol now. He's an ampersand.
Yeah, he's an ampersand with an asterisk. You're right. He's not.
Yeah, gosh, man, there's a. I don't know. I mean, Cleveland, I guess, has all the red
jackass that caught that Fail Mary.
Yeah, I know, and shoved the guy in the back. That's what Golden Tate was good
that
at.
drove me nuts. I'll hate him forever for that.
Yeah, I know.
Then he went to Detroit, didn't he, and beat the crap out of the Packers. And then I feel like he was on Minnesota and beat the hell out of us.
No Minnesota. He was on the Lions for a long time. No Minnesota. It's just your nightmares.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I mean the defense is going to be better, Brad. Like you were saying, I think 10-6, 11-5 is very possible for this team. Especially you never really think of the Steelers being under the radar, but they are this year thanks to all the hype in Cleveland. The defense is going to be better. Somebody's going to catch. I guess Vance McDonald, from a fantasy point of view, is kind of my favorite kind of underdog guy there, just because somebody has to get the targets from Antonio Brown.
Right,
so I think James Conner will get more targets this year, and I think Vance McDonald will get targets. And if I had to guess, I think Dante Moncrief is going to beat James Washington out for the second most targeted receiver. So he could be a nice sleeper out there, a nice daily fantasy bargain guy. But I think that's about it. There you go. That's the AFC North. So, Brad, I think you and I both agree, just based on kind of our picks there. I think we're actually, excuse me, I think we're picking Pittsburgh to win the division, Baltimore second.
Pretty entertaining division, I would say.
Yeah, and it really wouldn't shock me. Outside of Cincinnati winning the division, nothing would shock me at this point.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me if Cleveland puts it together. It wouldn't shock me if Cleveland.
It wouldn't shock me either. It wouldn't shock me either. And for the record, I don't know. It just bothers me how all of a sudden Vegas said that Cleveland was the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. That was the craziest thing I have seen all year. And it's like, wait a minute. No, they're not. They're probably going to go 7-9, by the way.
Right.
I don't care how much talent you put on a team.
Yep.
My only point.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Nothing against them personally.
Yep. Baltimore wouldn't shock me if they win the division. Wouldn't shock me if 2 or 3 playoff teams come out of this division. I would be a little surprised because I do think Kansas City and the Chargers will both make it out west. So I'd be surprised if they get 3 playoff teams, but 2 playoff teams, it's basically the the second place team in this division is going to be battling it out with the second place team in the South, whether that's Houston or Indianapolis. Or, a feisty Tennessee team, but not if Mariota's the quarterback. Mariota's not going to. But we'll talk about that in probably 2 weeks here. So, I think we can call that an episode. Next week, we'll talk NFC North, the division that's near and dear to your heart, Brad.
Oh, that's next week? That sounds great.
Yeah, and, I'm going to be going on vacation, but, we'll find a window, Brad, to talk about it, and we'll get the episode up. Maybe a day or 2 late, but it'll be up.
Okay.
All right. Well, everybody, hey, thanks for stopping by, listening. Remember, check the show notes, but you can get to Amazon.com and search for the Fantasy Football Almanac and Draft Guide. I talk about all these players that we're talking about in these podcasts in much more detail, and the rankings. So that the guide is updated July 16th. So the guide was updated this week, so go ahead and pick it up. It is the most up-to-date draft guide out there, and I include free updates in that. So again, everybody, thanks for listening. Go out, get paid.